Sorry. All right. Classic. All right. I'll go fast because I'm kind of late, and it's late in the talk. My name's Adam Olson. I am with GitLab. I'm going to give a little bit of a talk about moving from sequential to concurrent DevOps. It's a different approach. I'm a former developer consultant. I have not written any code. I'm just being brutally honest out here in over 12 years. But I've been in the DevOps space for a long time. And I'm going to talk about, DevOps is culture, people, and processes and tools. I'm going to talk about the tools part of it today, and we'll get moving. So a lot of people are spending a lot of money in DevOps, and a lot of people don't feel like they're getting the value out of it. And we're starting to see the biggest problem being a picture that kind of looks like this, right? And this is kind of what a lot of people see, where you have a bunch of different tools that are really good at what they do that weren't architected originally to work together very well, and you're spending a lot of time linking them together. And so when you upgrade one, you break the integration with the other. And you're spending a lot of time in your DevOps lifecycle managing these tools, right? So the whole point of the DevOps part of the tools part is automating the software factory as much as possible. And so what you see with the sequential DevOps is a lot of duplicate information all over the place in different tools, and it's scattered and it's hard to find stuff. And then you have to wait for a handoff from one tool to the next tool to the next tool for you to kind of complete what your process is. Pretty common. It becomes a real pain if you're the administrator of these tools, because then you have to administer the users and how the users are configured, or if you want to set up a project, how you're going to go about that approach. So at GitLab, we look at this differently. We mentioned earlier someone was talking, I think is it Mike? You were talking about how often do people release or deploy, right? So GitLab actually does deploy daily, but we release monthly. And what I mean by that is we have a major release every month. And the only way we can do that is to run concurrently. We can't wait for any bottlenecks in the system, right? So our approach is to move and start to shift your mind from a sequential DevOps approach to a concurrent DevOps approach, right? So it's a better way of working together. I'm not going to read through the slides. I think you guys can kind of get it. And this is the shameless kind of sales pitch. I am a salesperson, right? So GitLab covers, we're an open source company. We've been around just over 4 years. And in 4 years, we've built a tool that covers the complete DevOps lifecycle. Do you need to use it for everything? Absolutely not. Could you use it for where you're having the most pain, where it could add the most value? Sure, right? So it's a single conversation, it's a single data store, a single permission model. It's easy for teams to collaborate. It's easy to maintain, right? So this is the part where I really enjoy working at GitLab, is because we're constantly building new stuff. We release every month, and we're starting to expand. Everyone knows GitLab. They're like, oh yeah, Git, it's an SCM tool. It's where I go it's a code repo. I like to tell everyone we're more than a code repo. We have been for a while. We're starting to move into security, and we're starting to move into something called BizOps, which is how do we bring all of these things together. I think Mike's picture in his first talk, where it was, the people, the process, the tools, and it's also the business and bringing those challenges all together. That is what we're trying to do in one tool at GitLab, and that's where we're headed. So if you have one project, 2 projects, or a small team, the sequential DevOps is manageable. If you're a large organization, you get into the thousands of developers, multiple projects, it gets insanely more complex. So you'll get more benefit from moving to a concurrent DevOps model and using less tools where possible. People ask me, so you think you're the 10, you're now the best of breed of 10 different spaces? And the answer to that is no. We're very good at a lot of these things, but we incrementally get better because we release every month, right? How do we do it so quickly? We have over 1,800 open source contributors. We're based on open source. And then we have over 100,000 deployments at very large organizations with over 30,000 users to teams that are a team of 5. So we scale from small to large teams, but we do it rapidly. The normal journey you see in concurrent DevOps is people modernizing their software configuration management tool, and then automating with a continuous integration, continuous deployment. And then it's, how do we become more cloud native? How do we build architectures that are more flexible? What I think is unique about GitLab in this space is that we've paused and we're building something based on today's architecture, cloud native and where things are going. And that's really just my talk about, you know, that's it. And it's really just open to questions. I wanted to end it on time. Any questions?
Can you flesh out, like, what's different between the concurrent and the sequential?
Sure. I'll go back to, I think the biggest difference, right, is the actual having a tool that is communicating and collaborating between the different phases, right? So you're handing off one ticket or one issue or a merge request that's communicating the conversation of development throughout the phases so that people see what's going on, right? So that thread holds it all together and keeps it moving instead of someone waiting. You're seeing things happening similar to the monitoring and alerting kind of conversation. It's the concurrent is we're collaborating, communicating all the time throughout the whole life cycle, and it's just easier in that one tool. Now, I'm not saying you got to replace or rip out everything that you got. Do we integrate with other tools? Absolutely. Yep.
But your tool kind of does what Jira does, what GitLab does, and all these other tools out there.
Yes.
So you're not just integrating the other tools.
We do both because we have people. Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Another question.
What's the biggest difference between you guys and then like an Atlassian?
That's a great question. I get that question a lot. So I'd say probably the biggest difference is our speed to innovate. Atlassian has been around a lot longer, and I think we are a leader as to where we're going. In less than 2 years, we've been in the CI space for less than 2 years, and we're already the leader. In September, Forrester did their CI wave report. We're way, way, way out on the right. We weren't even in it 24 months ago. So our biggest difference is our innovation, our speed, and our ability to respond to our customers' feedback on building new features. Now, I get the debate from people of, well, I can go to the Atlassian store, and there's a lot of plugins, and anyone who manages plugins with stuff, that's great at first. And then you got to manage all the plugins. And you're constantly trying to keep up with all the plugins. Our approach is, hey, put it in the open source base layer of GitLab, and it's there for everyone. And then we can make it better. Instead of, it's just a different approach in that regard. But most of it's the innovation. But it is a good question.
What's the CI situation look like as far as like compared to like a Jenkins or something like that? So like I've used several, I mean Circle and stuff like that, and GitHub integrates well, but it's not very robust on like things you can do with it as far as like packaging and things like that. Jenkins lets you have really robust pipelines. Do you guys offer something comparable like that?
We offered an extremely robust pipeline with configurable YAML files. You can pretty much do whatever you want. We have something in our enterprise product that we call Auto DevOps, which just starts to, you know, if you want to start doing canary deploys with a bunch of Kubernetes containers and roll it, like we could go really far. You can, it's very customizable, very easy. I would say if you haven't seen it, come meet with me later. We can talk about it later. But this was my first time actually down to the Techlahoma space and the star space. So I want to thank you guys. And I don't like doing a sales pitch at a thing like this, but since it was a lightning talk, I think it was okay to kind of just more inform you. My biggest challenge is most people don't realize that GitLab does so much. And once they start to see it, they're like, wow, this makes my life easier.
So there's a conference-like piece here, or documentation.
There is GitLab pages, and there's a GitLab wiki thing. I don't want to say that we are 100% apples to Confluence. We do have some users that are like, we're so deep in Confluence, we're going to stick with that, and that's fine. And they plug in with the GitLab piece. So we have, I would say, enough. But you know, I don't know what your requirements are. You may have more, and if it's not enough to meet your requirements, I wouldn't advise you using those pieces of GitLab. Any other questions? All right, cool. Hey, thanks for the time. Yeah. And for the getting my displays to work. This is always the hard part.